Ladies and gentlemen, it is May 8th, 2023, and it is Monday Night Nerd. We are LIVE live tonight. Thank you guys very much for joining me here. My name's Myers Corp Creations. If you're new here, welcome. Glad you could stop by. Get yourself a drink, pop a squat. Hope you guys enjoy the show today. Tomorrow, actually, I'm turning 35 years old. I can't believe it. I'm 35 tomorrow. That is, it's weird to think about, but it is the truth. I will be 35. And today we're going to be talking about my birthday. We're going to be talking about all the crazy things that happened on my birthday. I've had several birthdays where I've done things very nerdy. Winky dink, right? And we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about some fun things. But first, we're going to talk about some NEWS news. I spelled that right. NEWS. Yes, I did. Let's talk about some news. I went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3 on Thursday. And boy, did I. That movie, when they used the term emotional roller coaster, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is that and more. I'm not going to spoil it because it is only the first weekend. So for those people who have lives, what better things were you doing that day and all weekend where you didn't go see Guardians? Like, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Come on. It was a great movie. It was, and I've been told I'm a Marvel fanboy and I like all things Marvel no matter what they do. But this was an incredible movie. It, from the minute the movie started, it had you. The opening scene grabs you and it does not let go through the rest of the movie. And it was, I was almost speechless by the end. I don't want to spoil it, but I do want to mention a few things. I think you can kind of tell based off the trailer that Rocket is the main focus, and that is true. He is the main focus. But man, they've put, I don't know if it was just IGN or if it was Marvel, the parent company. There is a little bit of a warning that if you're sensitive to certain things involving animals and you bring small children, it could be a problem. And I completely understand it because I am an animal lover. I have my dog. I have my cats. I love animals. And watching and hearing some of the things that happen in that movie, because we all kind of understand Rocket's backstory and they delve right into it. There were moments in the movie where, even as, I know this is just a film and these are all CG characters, but this is pushing my limit. So if you have small children, if you are very sensitive to animals, there's a warning for you. Come prepared. But the overall arc through the three Guardians, I think, are pretty easy to understand. If you've seen the third one, the first one is definitely Peter dealing with the loss of his mother and coming to grips with it. The second one is Peter coming to grips with his father. And this one is definitely Peter coming to terms with himself. And it is a great trilogy to see that all come around and see not just Star-Lord, but every one of the Guardians, including the side characters, get perfect endings. And I can't stress the term perfect endings. I cannot think of a single flaw in the movie when it comes to the ending. There is flaws in the movie. I will not say it is a perfect movie because even I, who can very much put the blinders on until I maybe see a review or something where somebody mentioned something and I say, oh yeah, that is true. There was a moment, and again, I'm not going to spoil it, that even I kind of went, wait 1 second. It doesn't pull you out of the movie, though. It is still an amazing movie. Go see it. Give this movie the love it deserves, because if this is the way Marvel's going, I don't know if it is, but if this is the direction they're considering, I am more than happy to jump on board and ride this Marvel train a little while longer, because it was it was emotional, and it was emotional when it came to the story, but it's also, you almost had a little bit of, a little bit of that Logan feeling where, I think everyone can kind of understand that this is probably the last Guardians in this form because of contracts and people wanting to go do other things. So it is almost, I think it's been a 10-year run, and this is probably it. So there is that little bit of, we've seen these characters grow and seeing them kind of go off in their separate directions, or, whatever they're going to do with them. It definitely feels like a very good period, and I can't wait to see what the next steps are for the series. So Guardians, I give it a 9 out of 10. I besides one little flaw that I caught, which I think a lot of people are either overlooking because I haven't seen anybody else mention it, or it was a great movie. I can't say it enough. Go see the movie. I can't wait to see it when it comes out on Disney Plus. Let's see what else we got here. This is interesting. I am rocking the Bullet Club shirt, so we're going to be a little bit of wrestling news because we had a pay-per-view this weekend, which unfortunately I did not get to see, but I've seen enough clips of it that it was a really good pay-per-view from what I've seen. I saw pretty much the one match that everyone was talking about. Bad Bunny, if you know him from the music world, faced off against Damian Priest in a street fight in Puerto Rico, and it was amazing. Bad Bunny did an amazing job. The rest of the card was incredible, with Cody versus Brock in a rematch, Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega. That was an amazing match. Hopefully I can get my service running soon so I can watch the rest of it. But overall, Backlash in Puerto Rico on Saturday was an amazing show. And next month at Night of Champions, you will be seeing the crowning of the new world champion on what I believe will be the Raw brand, because Roman Reigns and the Universal title will be on the SmackDown brand. I'm not going to go into how that is really confusing because they've changed some things, and this whole brand split thing, if you're following WWE right now, is kind of weird. I'm going to let you know next week. The topic of the show will probably be the current state of pro wrestling and my opinions on it. Because I have been a diehard wrestling fan since 1997. So I have seen the ups and the downs of the WWE and wrestling in general. So we'll talk about that next week. And we're really going to focus on this topic of where this is going to be going in the next little while, because we're going to have a new WWE, in the next couple years. That's going to look probably a lot different. So we'll be talking about that next week. But the thing I wanted to talk about, and it was really crazy to think that it's been this long, because I am turning 35 tomorrow, but I guess it has been this long. On Saturday, the same day as the pay-per-view, it was the 21-year anniversary of when WWF had to rename themselves WWE because they lost the court battle to the World Wildlife Fund. And that was a moment as a wrestling fan, even though I'd only been a fan, that happened in 2001. I'd only been a fan for about 5 years, but to know the legacy of the WWF at that point, and then having to go, we have to change everything to now WWE, was nuts, because it was, you had the entity of the WWE, and you thought there's no way they could lose to the WWF. I mean, people understood the difference, but in the WWF, World Wildlife Fund's mind, not many, they think that people couldn't figure out the difference. So they had to change their name, and they did a great marketing campaign for it. If you don't remember it, they had a marketing campaign, which was the slogan, "Get the F out," which was brilliant on WWE's part. So great for them. But yeah, 21 years ago that changed, and that's still something. They're still WWE. I'm pretty sure they're going to stay WWE when they go into their new owner, once they rebrand everything and have them under the same company. I don't know. That is going to be crazy. But yeah, 21 years ago, WWF became WWE. Quick little note about that. Let's jump into the next little bit of news. Carrie Fisher, our late Princess Leia, or Admiral Leia, as some people like to call her, she was honored this weekend with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And that was, I think, a lot of Star Wars fans, and even myself, who's not a diehard Star Wars fan, but I've seen the movies and I appreciate the fandom. I feel like this should have came a lot sooner. I believe Hamill has one. I know Harrison Ford has one, but I feel like Carrie should have had one. And I know the whole Star Walk of Fame thing is a little bit of a cluster. It's not really for, the people who have made a dent. It is, from what I've heard, it's a lot of a cash grab. You make a big donation and you get a star. But, I really think this should have been a lot earlier. I think Carrie should have been around to be acknowledged for her star. But her daughter was there, Billy Loward, I believe her last name is. She honored her mom and did a very beautiful speech, honoring her mom and explaining that, back in the day, she was not a big fan of the franchise, but now she's grown to love Princess Leia and the entire Star Wars universe and is now a giant fan of it. She was wearing a dress that had Princess Leia on it. I believe she brought a little bit of the ashes of Carrie Fisher and poured some of them on the star, which was beautiful. But it was a very, very touching tribute to her mom, and with Mark Hamill there and Carrie and Harrison Ford too. It was nice. I wish it was, I think we all can say that we wish she was here, but it was very nice to see that. And now her legacy will live on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So that was nice to see. Going from that, which was kind of sad, to something very sad, because if you're a local Ontario music fan like I am, and you were around in the 2000s, you know of a band called Sum 41. And unfortunately, as of today, they have announced that they will be disbanding following a final album and a tour. They've been around 27 years, so that puts them 96, I believe they started. And, they were big in 2000s. For anybody who's joined the show who is, below the age of 18, Sum 41, especially around here, they were gods for a couple years. They blew up in the local scene, especially doing shows at Much Music and Big Shiny Tunes, and Much Music just pumped them up so much. And they were a great band, and they're still a great band. I heard I think it was their last album came out a couple years ago, and they put out a single for it, and I loved it. And I actually want to listen to the rest of the album now that I know that their tour is coming up, because I'm going to probably have to go to that show, because I've been a fan of theirs since the beginning. And it sucks. They're I kind of get it. The bands of that generation, my generation, I'll even say, they're not as popular as they used to be. So I completely understand them kind of going, what's the point of us making new music over and over again? So a lot of them are calling quits, and it sucks, because there are some amazing bands out there, but in the way of the music industry now, it's so hard even for bigger bands to get a following and to get records selling anything, selling tickets, selling records, selling merch. And yeah, I get it. I really do get it. I think it was Weird Al. Who put out a statement saying, he might not even do any more albums. He might just do singles. Like, he'll just write a song and put it out, because the idea of putting together X amount of songs on an album and waiting till that album is complete, and what's the term complete, and putting them all together and waiting and doing all, like, the music industry isn't that anymore. The music industry is based on channels like this on YouTube and people reviewing songs. And if you got a good song, just put it out. And I think that's what a lot of these bands are going to have to start doing. And some of them just don't want to do that anymore. They want to they've had a good career, and do they think they're going to come back and be what they were in 2000? Probably not. So it sucks. Again, they're a great band. If you don't know who Sum 41 is, after the show's over, hit that search bar, Sum 41, and just enjoy, because they were incredible. They're still incredible. I clearly remember being a fan of theirs, and then seeing, I want to say it was an MTV award show, and they came out and started playing their songs, and then they jumped into Beastie Boys, and then Tommy Lee came out and they jumped into Shout at the Devil, and then Rob Halford from Judas Priest comes out, And then they started playing You Got Another Thing Coming, and I'm just like, as a rock fan and a metal fan, I'm just like, this is insane that all these worlds are coming together and they all respect each other. And yeah, that just made me even a bigger fan of them. That the fathers of rock and metal appreciate this younger band, and the younger band appreciates the legends of rock and metal. So good. You know what? Amazing career, Sum 41. You deserve all the credit. I hope you sell out every single ticket on every show coming up on this final tour, because I'm probably going to be one of them. So good for you. Great career. Go off into the sunset like you deserve. That is all the news for today. Kind of a short news week, I got to admit. It's been I know cosplay season is running around, and there will be a lot of cosplay updates in the next little while, because I have to start building, because Anime North is coming up in the next little bit. But I've fallen into a little bit of a rut, and I'll be honest. When I start doing something like playing a video game, I just want to do that. Like, if I'm cosplaying, I want to cosplay. If I'm playing a video game, I want to play a video game. If I'm watching a TV show, I want to watch the TV show. And I stupidly started God of War. And I don't want to do anything else but play God of War. This is the God of War from PS4. I started it back then, and I've been a fan of that series since the beginning. God of War 1 is the last game that I've ever played an all-nighter. This was in high school. My buddy Caleb, shout out Caleb if you're watching, he let me borrow his copy, and I started playing that at about, I believe it was like 8, 9 o'clock at night. I did not stop until 8, 9 o'clock the next morning, and I beat it in one run. It was such an amazing game. I didn't go to school the next day because I was exhausted, but that was the last game I ever did an all-nighter. So I've been a giant fan of that series. But when the new one came out, the 2014, 15 one, it was such a departure from that original group that the controls and everything else just didn't work for me. So I played a bit of it, gave it up, played a bit, gave it up, played a bit, gave it up. And then I started playing it recently, and I enjoyed it. I'm starting to enjoy it a lot more because I changed the control scheme a bit, and it makes it a little easier. But I realized I'm like 13 hours in and I have no idea what's going on. So I started it again on Friday night. And man, I just don't want to do anything else. I just want to sit there and game. But I know I have one cosplay, and let's spin the chair, 2 cosplays on the go right now. So I need to work on those, because I need at least one of these done for Anime North. Hopefully 2, we'll see. But yeah, I know I've got stuff to do, but man, I just love that game so much. So, I don't know why I went on this rant. I don't know why I started this. Anyways, it'll come to me sooner or later. But it is definitely something, I will be definitely sending some more cosplay stuff out this week, some updates on builds. And yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I don't know why I started this. Anyways, let's just go to sponsors. If it comes to me later. Sponsors for the week, as you're well aware, my amazing wife, my amazing, beautiful wife. If it wasn't for her, I would not be doing this. I would be sitting in my room with the lights off, probably playing music, but I'm here talking to you for the 12th episode. Thank you all for being here. And you wouldn't be here, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my wife. So, hun, I love you. Thank you very much. You will always support me, and that means the world to me. Time for the main event, folks. It is May 8th, 2023, and tomorrow is my birthday. I was born on May 9th, 1988. I will be 35 years old tomorrow. If you told me back in 2000 that I would be 35 one day, I would have laughed. Not that I thought something would have happened, but that was one of those, that's so far away. That will take forever to get here. Well, it's here. And do I feel 35? No. Not at all. Do I look 35? That's up to other people's opinion. Me, I don't know what 35 looks like. So if you think I look 35, great. If you think I don't look like 35, great. I really don't care. But yeah, I'm going to be 35 tomorrow, and I've had some interesting birthdays. I've had some really fun birthdays because around this time every year, it seems like something's happening. And it's it's weird. Like I never really noticed it until I started to see a trend around the 2005 2006 is when I really noticed it. Um, it just seems to be that weekend, that first May weekend seems to be usually a pretty good weekend, and usually the first weekend that everybody starts to get things ready. So getting the stuff out of the garage, cutting the grass for the first time, is which I did yesterday. But I have a rule. I have a rule, and everybody who knows me knows this rule because I don't shut up about it. As soon as we get that first warm weather season, everyone says, I'm going to change my tires. I'm going to take my winter tires off and I'm going to put my summer tires on. It's a nice weekend. It's mid-April. It's time. And I say, nope. I am waiting. People say, but it's nice out. It's nice out. It can't get any. It's not going to get worse. And I say, no. Because my first birthday, May 9th, 1989, I was 1 year old, and my mom had purchased me one of those big plastic kiddie pools for the front yard. She was going to fill it with water with the hose, and I was going to enjoy my first birthday in the sun in a pool the way it should be. However, there is an infamous photo of me in the pool, no water, in the living room of my mom's house with a big front window behind me, and out on the lawn is snow. It snowed on my first birthday. So I always tell everybody, you wait until May 9th, and then that weekend or the following weekend, because my birthday is on a Tuesday this year, that's when I will change my tires, and that's when I say it's good time to change them. I have proof, and and you know what? It was actually proof this year because a relative who I have tires for came down and grabbed her tires, and she said, I'm going to get them done this weekend. And it was mid-April and it's beautiful out. I said, I would wait. And she said, nope, it should be good. And the next day it hailed, and she brought her winter tires back to store in my garage. And I went, should have listened. And she went, yes, I should have, but they're fine. It was fine. It was fine. But it always makes me laugh when people get caught that way. And I said, I tell you for a reason, but no one listens. Anyways, that's not a nerdy story. That's just my first birthday. My first birthday that I really remember, I can remember clearly, and this is weird. I do love this about memories when if you 99% of the time you don't remember jack. You know, you hit a certain age, and I always say that every time you hit a birthday, a certain percentage of the memories of your first years gets erased. It just gets wiped over with whatever happened the previous year. So when I'm 35, this memory has been there so long, and I can clearly visualize. If I shut my eyes, I'm in the spot. I know I can tell you exactly the smell, and the people, everything. I'm in the living room of my mom's house. My grandma and grandpa are there. I'm opening a gift. It's a great gift. I love it. I believe it was a TMNT toy. It's a TMNT toy. Celebrating. They leave. I'm going. They just left, and I have to go say hi. I have to say goodbye to them or something. That's the part I don't remember. I walk outside, and this is something I will always remember because it hurt. I was wearing no shoes and no socks, and I went running down the front walkway, and I sliced the living out of my toes. I split open my big toe so good on the concrete, and I was in so much pain after that. And that memory is just like insinged in the inside of my brain. And I don't know, I guess it's the pain that makes me remember it. But the next one I remember, it was, I believe, 1999, 98, 98, 1998. I was I was downstairs. I was playing my N64, and I was playing Yoshi's Story, and it was my birthday, and family had arrived, and I go upstairs, and I'm sitting there with my mom and her my grandma, my grandpa, and a few other relatives, and my mom hands me my gift in front of everybody, which she never, I don't think she did that often. I think my mom and I sort of did gifts on our own. The family came and we kind of did all of theirs together. And I remember pulling stuff out, and I had sandals, I had a pair of shorts, I believe I had a shirt, and I want to say she got me like swimming goggles. And I instantly said, "Oh, we're getting a pool." And she went, "No, keep looking further." And looked further, and pulled out two tickets in the bag, but there's actually more of us. We were going to Florida for part of my birthday gift. And that was the first time I went to Disney and Universal Studios. I was 10. I was 10 at that point. And that was a fun experience. That was a very nerdy experience for all the Disney nerds out there. This was something that I had seen so many times on TV. So many times people talking about going to Disney and Universal and it being an amazing experience. I hated Disney. I'm sorry to all the Disney nerds out there. I was at that age where I was too old to like kiddie things, and I was too young to like adult stuff, or I was too young to get into adult stuff. So I was bored at Disney. I like Space Mountain. We did Magic Kingdom, but I was bored at Disney. I did not enjoy it. However, I loved Universal. Universal at that time it had a lot of the old properties and it had some of the new properties, which was a perfect mix for me because I had grown up with the newer things. Like they had the Terminator ride, but they also had Jaws and Twister. Well, Twister was new, but Backdraft and stuff like that, and Earthquake and King Kong. And I enjoyed the idea of those properties because I'd seen them, because my mom's boyfriend at the time was such a classic movie person that I had heard and seen box art and stuff for Jaws and King Kong and Godzilla and stuff like that. So I was interested in that, but I was also at the age, and still am, a big chicken when it comes to doing these things. So I was excited about those things, but I was also scared to go on them. I enjoyed Terminator because I enjoyed Terminator 2. I had seen Terminator 2 at that point, so I was really interested in that. But I also didn't want to go on Jaws because I'd seen, the commercial for Jaws and how crazy it was. So I didn't actually go on it. And I kind of regret it because I wasn't able to go back to Universal until my wife and I's honeymoon, and they had taken it down by that point, and it had now become Hogwarts. My mom, however, did go on Jaws, and she brought her little Polaroid camera, and as soon as the shark jumps up, took a quick picture. So my mom has a picture of the inside of the shark's mouth, which I love. But the funny story that goes with that is, obviously, if you know the Jaws ride, it's in water and you're going to get soaked. She gets soaked in that ride, and she comes off, and she's a little, when you're soaking wet in the middle of the heat, you're going to get muggy and you're going to get bleh feeling. We're walking around the park and she's drying off and everything's working out. We then go do Twister. And if you've done the Twister ride, you know that you're sitting there watching the tornado happen. And we're at the back row, And during the Twister ride, the back windows blow out and water just shoots all over everybody. And she gets soaked again. And she is cussing up a storm because she's now soaking wet again. And I will always remember that. And I still giggle at that because I can see myself getting frustrated with that. I just tried off. Come on. But yeah, Universal, I loved Universal. I really, even to this day, like sidebar, I enjoy when we went for our honeymoon, and this will probably be a topic coming up in a future episode. Um, we went for our honeymoon, and Disney was fun. Like even as an adult, Disney was fun, but it was so kiddie when it came to certain things. Like we did Animal Kingdom, we did Magic Kingdom, and the Animal Kingdom's like a big zoo, which is cool, but me. And Magic Kingdom was just so like you did the cool little things, but then you're just meh. Universal's a blast. I love Universal Studios. Like I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but going to Hogwarts and going through all that stuff, I'm like, oh, I completely get this now. Like, all right, you sucked me and I'm interested. But yeah, that was one of my first big birthdays was going to Disney and Universal. And that was one of well, I don't know if they did one more, but that might have been the last vacation that my grandma and grandpa took together before my grandma passed away in early 2000, which, if you know me, I had an amazing relationship with my grandma and grandpa. So knowing I got to go on a vacation with them, not long before my grandmother passed away. It's a nice little memory. And I remember walking down the beach with my mom and her, and it's a nice little memory that I get to enjoy every now and then. Fandom Frontier, RIP. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like the Jaws ride is so cool, but I see the logistics issue with it, like the logistics of having that thing full every day and having to drain it and having to fill it. And then if something goes wrong, you have to drain it. And like, that's so much water. And that's such a big pain in the arse. That is, that's the problem with the Swamp Thing TV show, that miniseries TV series that came out a few years ago. It got amazing reviews. And that's one of the few TV shows that I watched from beginning to end. And I loved it. But the logistics of having to they built the swamp on a soundstage, and having to have that much water drained and filled every day, or how many times they did it. Like that's a logistics nightmare for an organization that is trying to probably save as much money as they can. But yeah, that's crazy to think that if you were running that park, knowing you had to do that much draining and filling, is just, I get it why they tore that thing down. It was such a great ride though. And they still have Bruce there. Bruce is still hanging from the gallows, which I appreciate because I still get my photo with him. Edith said, did you ever hear about the story about the guy that fell off the ride that all he saw was the animatronic Jaws underwater? That would have scared the daylights out of me. That would have, seeing that animatronic underwater would have been terrifying. Like I've seen a shot of an overhead shot of that entire thing without water, and even them just laying there not moving is like, okay, that's a little scary, especially the burnt one at the end. Like it's a little bit, even now I know I'd be like, I'm cool, but part of me be like, this is fucking terrifying. So yeah, poor ride. Like I said, when an episode in the future we'll talk about Universal and Disney in long form. I could tell you all about going there and enjoying Universal at least. When it came to 97, the year before we went to Disney, that was the first year when I really became a wrestling fan. And I became a wrestling fan in 97, but I kind of didn't know I was a fan. Like, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't a hardcore fan. Like, if I was flipping around the channels and I saw it, it was great, but I wasn't searching for it. And they came to town, and I asked my dad for tickets. And my dad actually took me to my first wrestling show. And that was in 97 at Cops Coliseum. And I was blown away by it. This was the coolest thing. And it's a crap card. Like, I remember looking it up probably 3 or 4 years ago, going, oh, what? I kind of remember it. I don't really remember. It's a crap card, but I did enjoy being there. And I remember picking up my original pair of Bret Hart sunglasses. This is actually a pair I got last year from my wife that was personalized. Let me see if the light can hit it. They are actually personalized to me from Bret. I had a pair back in 97. That's what my dad bought me at the event. And unfortunately, we're going to say misplaced. I have thoughts that they weren't misplaced. I have thoughts that I left them somewhere intentionally. And when I went back to get them, somebody took them. Not saying that's the truth, but that's what I think happened. But I only had them for a short time. But yeah, my first wrestling show was in 97, and that was my dad taking me. And Bret was supposed to be on that card, but I believe he had his knee injury at the time and unfortunately did not make the card. But I believe the main event was Undertaker versus Vader, which was a pretty cool ending of the show, I must admit. But to continue that, there has been a trend that after the WrestleMania in March, April, they usually do a tour of Canada not long after that, which is perfect for me because that's my birthday. And 2 years later, in 1999, I have the ticket stub up here still. I went to my second WWF show at Skydome. My mom had bought tickets for myself and a friend of mine, and we took a limo to Skydome to see wrestling. It was so fun. As a kid, that was so cool. I remember pulling up to Skydome and having people like try and look in the limo to see who it is. Like, is it Stone Cold? Is it Triple H? And then the window rolled down and it's me. And they're like, oh, crap. But it was still cool. Like, I got to go in a limo for the first time. That was my first time in a limo because the second time was going to see Kiss for my first concert. But yeah, going to see WWF in a limo was so fun as a kid. This was at the height of Stone Cold, so I remember getting the Stone Cold foam belt. I got a big foam DX thing. I had a sign. It was amazing. It was such a cool show, and the Skydome was pretty close to sold out, if I remember correctly. Like, it was packed there. It was so cool. And then the next couple of years, I sort of had, I don't know, it was I kind of got this weird thing with birthdays. I grew up not really having parties. Like, I don't really do big get-togethers. I had one party when I was a little kid, and we went to McDonald's and we invited a couple friends, and it was a blast. I think I remember correctly, one of my old friends had this birthday around a similar time, so we kind of did a dual party. So it was half of my friends, half of their friends, and it was fun. Like, I remember playing in the ball pit with everybody, and it was a blast. But other than that, my mom wasn't really big on having big get-togethers at our house. We had family come over, but no friends. So I've kind of grown up without having big parties. So the idea of every year getting together and having, 50 people come over and have a big bash, like, that was never me. So from 99 till, early 2005, 2006 time, I didn't really have parties. So it was just kind of low key. Like, I really didn't do anything for my birthdays. And I was also in that, again, I was kind of in that, I'll admit, kind of jerky age of just like, I'm too cool for birthdays. Like, that's for little kids. I'm not like, do we all go through that? Like, it's weird. I always thought I wasn't never going to go through that. Like, I was always told growing up, I was the mature one. I was always told, oh, Michael's very mature for his age. And I always thought, yeah, like, I haven't had those like jerk years that like I'm never gonna look back on and be like, why did I do that? I do that now where I'm like, man, I was kind of a jerk of just not like bully, but just like, dude, be happy, like be smiling, like you're living a pretty good life. And like I said, I never really had those parties in the age when I should have. But when I got to about 2006, which would make me 18, my dad was really cool again and asked me what I wanted for my birthday. And I said, well, this artist is coming to Hamilton that I'd really like to go see. Is there any way you could get tickets for it? I don't know if you'll be interested in it. And he asked, who was it? And I said, Alice Cooper. And he said, yes, we will go see Alice Cooper. Of course. So my dad got me tickets to my first Alice Cooper show at Hamilton Place. And it's still one of my favorite concerts. It was like every hit he ever played. It was every bit of the show that you wanted. Like he had all the bells and whistles. He had the guillotine and the big mascots coming out. It was a great show. And also a few days before that, this was the era of Alice Cooper when Eric Singer, who's from Kiss, was the drummer for Alice Cooper. So they had a autograph session for Eric Singer up the mountain, and I got to meet Eric Singer a few days before the concert, and then I got to go see him play live with Alice Cooper. It was a great weekend. I have an autograph picture of Eric Singer, and then when I got to the venue, my dad asked me, I'll get you something, and I said, well, there's actually two things I want, please. And my dad was very gracious and said, what is it? I said, there's a signed drum skin for Eric Singer, and I wanted not just a regular t-shirt, I wanted the baseball style Alice Cooper shirt that had the Trash album cover on, which was my favorite album and still is probably my favorite album. So he picked me up both, and I still have the Trash shirt upstairs, and I have the signed drum skin at my mom's. But yeah, it was such a good show. It was such a good show. You know what? I should actually download the set list for that because I wouldn't mind going through all the tracks again. But if I remember correctly, it was hit after hit after hit. It was great. But after that became, I had one more big thing, and then this weird thing happened that we'll get into. But in 2008 was the first time I actually got my friends together. And this was the first time I was able to do a party without parental supervision, let's say. I had a bunch of friends back then who are still good friends now. Kurt, Caleb, how you doing? And we what did Cal say? Oh, I'm gonna bring that up. Thank you, hun, for bringing that up. That will be my final story. I totally how did I forget that? Sorry. Where was I? We actually got together and we went to a wrestling show. It was the WWE was going to be at Cops, and it was just the six of us. And this, I believe, was one of the first times I'd gone to WWE without my parents. And it was a blast. We had a lot of fun. We were actually at perfect eye level with the ring because we were up a little bit. And it was a very good show. This was the first time I saw Big Show live. And you see these guys that are, 7 foot this and blah, blah, blah. But seeing them in person and going, oh, that's what 7 foot looks like, you understand how big these guys are. But it was a solid show. I believe John Cena was in the main event against Big Show. And yeah, it was great. It was the first time I got to be on my own as an adult. Still not an adult. I don't care what anyone says. But then this weird thing happened. The movie industry decided on taking a chance with a little known studio called Marvel. And Marvel decided to start pumping out movies on the regular. And it seemed that almost every single year, including this year, there is a Marvel movie coming out around my birthday. And it usually falls close enough, but sometimes it lands right on the day. And for the past 6-7 years, probably, if not longer, every single May, there is a Marvel movie coming out on my birthday. And it is a pretty cool thing to know that I can almost guarantee that I will be in the movie theater the weekend of or the weekend after my birthday, sitting down watching that Marvel credits pop up. And again, I don't know why they do it that weekend. I guess it's something to do with, it's a good weekend. It's the first big weekend of the movie season or something. But yeah, I'm usually in the movies, and this year was no exception with going to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3 right before my birthday. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I want to see if that streak continues because, man, they're pumping out movies every now and then. So every 4 months, it seems like there's a new Marvel thing. So we'll see if that trend continues next year. But we're going to do one last story, which my wife has kindly brought up because it is a funny, funny story. Not very nerdy, but just funny. I'm a very chill person. I'm a very chill, very laid back person. And this was on full display this day. This was my birthday. Let's see. It was probably the first year my wife and I were together. We've been together 10 years plus, and we were together for the first year. And my wife was asking me, what do you want to do? What do you want to do for your birthday? And as I said earlier, I'm not a big party person. I said, honestly, I just want to spend time with you. We had been together not that long, almost a year. And I said, honestly, I just want to hang out with you. That's all I want. And she said, well, no, we should do so. I said, no, I'm happy. I'm perfectly happy just spending time with you. We could do this, do that. I don't care as long as I'm with you. So we had planned on going to Toronto. And that was always my go-to. I loved going to Toronto. I still like going to Toronto. I go there every year for Fan Expo. But that was the plan. And we woke up that morning and my wife had to go into work. So this was the weekend, by the way. So she had to go into the office and get some stuff done. So she went in and got some stuff done. And I was at the apartment and we were just kicking back, waiting for her to come home. And she said, it was getting close to about noon that she came home. I said, okay, like we're gonna go to Toronto. And she said, no, I don't really feel like going to Toronto. It's so late in the day. Like it's already noon. Like by the time we get there, it'll be like 1, 2, and then we're not gonna have time. I said, okay, that's fine. Like I said, just want to hang out with you. What do you want to do instead? And she goes, I don't know. What do you want to do? And I said, let's just go to the mall. Let's whip down to the local mall and we'll see. We'll just hang out there. And she said, fine, whatever. So hop on the bus. We weren't driving at the time. We didn't have a car. So we hop on the bus and we were driving. We were on the way to the mall. Apartments here, malls here. So we have to go across. We're about halfway, which is close to where my mom's house is. And she said, I really want McDonald's. And there's a McDonald's close by. And I said, okay, ding the bell and we'll get off and we'll go to McDonald's. We ding the bell, gets off, and she goes, no, let's just go over to this. Let's just walk this way. And there's a pool hall close by. And I said, all right, we'll go to the pool. I'm happy to hang out with you. That's all I care about. And we walk towards the pool hall and we go in the pool hall. For those who don't know, my friends and I would go to the local pizza place some nights, get a pizza, and then go over to the pool hall and play pool for a few hours. Well, I walk into the pool hall and my friends are all there and we're celebrating my birthday by going to the pool hall and then going back to my mom's. Kels is so mad at me. She's like, I did everything to frustrate you today, to get you here, and you just went along with everything. And I said, yeah, because all that mattered, and I told you this from the beginning, all I cared about was hanging out with you. And she was so mad because I wanted to go to Toronto. She said no. Wanted to go to the mall. She said no. Wanted to go to, then I said cool with McDonald's. And then we decided at the last minute to go somewhere. I didn't care. I just flat out didn't care. And that is one of the stories that we love reminding each other of, just like, I just want to spend time with her. I've always been honest about that. Like, if we just sit back, and that's probably, honestly, that's probably what we're going to do tomorrow. I know we're just going to get dinner and kick back on the couch and relax because, like I said, I'm not into these big parties and stuff, but that's just me. That's a story we love laughing at. That's how much I had in that situation. That's how I am with most things. So, but yeah, I've had some pretty cool birthdays, I have to admit. Even though, like I said, we haven't had many parties, except last year was the only one that I will remember for a very long time, and we will probably do another one. Maybe in the next year, maybe next year. But last year was a fun one. We did. My wife had set up what was called a Michael party, and the Michael party was everybody had to come to the party at my house dressed as someone with the name Michael. So we had Michael Jordan. We had who was the golfer? A golfer named Michael. That's gonna bug me. But we had some pretty interesting ones. And then Fandom Frontier Dave decided that his costume was going to be Michael Phelps in just the Speedo, which was just way more than we needed to see. But thank you for participating in that. And that is it. Mike Weir. Thank you, Tara. Mike Weir. That was the one. Yes, Mike Weir, Michael Phelps is just way too much to, yeah. Yeah, I don't get it. But it was yeah, I bet the pleasure was all yours. It was a great party, and we might have to do it again because I had a blast with that. But this year's just going to be one of those nice, relaxing ones. Um, but yeah, I'm going to be 35 tomorrow. It's kind of crazy. I I schedule my social media for Myers Corp Creations long in advance. I shouldn't say long in advance, usually the week ahead. And I was writing up a post tomorrow to go a post on the weekend for tomorrow. And, it's kind of sitting back thinking like, it's crazy that I'm going to be 35 tomorrow. And, you know, I don't feel 35, as I said at the beginning, but this one feels different. I don't know, being different like old or, I'm broken and stuff like that, but it feels different. It feels like a milestone, but not, I don't know. I don't know what a milestone is supposed to feel like because 20 and 30 didn't really do anything, but this one just feels important. And I think it's because, doing stuff like this and doing, my cosplay and trying to build all that stuff, I feel like I've really done something in the past couple of years. And I think this is sort of the, I kind of think of it like a long jump where this is the takeoff and now we're going to see how it lands. So I'm excited. I'm excited for next year. I'm excited for the next few years because I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be good. We've had, I think through the pandemic, we went through a heck of a lot when it comes to everything. And I don't even want to get on the fact of what Kelsey and I's 2020 was like. That was a nightmare. But yeah, I think we got some good days ahead of us. And I think it's going to be good. You're all here. So even if I have a bad day, I get to come on here once a week and talk to you guys. And hopefully you're listening. And if you're not, then I'm talking to a void, and that's perfectly fine too. Nothing to be nervous about because nobody's watching. But thank you all for joining. Thank you in the chat. Greatly appreciate you all talking in here and keeping this alive. We're going to go into a few questions that came in, and these are all birthday themed. And then I will get you on your way so you can enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Top 3 birthday gifts. What were the 3 top birthday gifts that I've ever received? So I had to sit down and think about this. So this isn't going to be an improv answer. I really had to think about it. I thought about it yesterday, and one of the birthday gifts that I received was on the way to for the second wrestling show that I went to at Skydome. It was from the friend who came with me. This was around the time Pokemon had kicked off big its first time, and there was a plastic Pikachu that was about yay big, and it had little things on the bottom, little metal things that if you put them on your hand, he would say Pikachu. And I remember everybody wanted this thing, and I got it. And I was so happy to have that. And along with it, he also got me, and I wish I had this. I lost this, and it was so cool. It was a Bulbasaur pencil sharpener, and it was the bulb on his back. You put the pencil in, and that was the sharpener. Like, that was so cool to think about. Like, some guy in the marketing department thought of that, and it just it was brilliant. I loved it. Those I count as one gift. The second gift was, I mentioned earlier, the Bret Hart glasses, because that was like my first wrestling thing that I got, and I loved having them, and I wore them all the time. Last, I believe it was 97, maybe 98. I think it was 98, was my first wrestling figure. And that wrestling figure was not Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was the biggest wrestling star at the time. It was Jerry the King Lawler was my first wrestling toy. I believe my grandma and grandpa got it for me. And to think that my first wrestling figure was not even an active wrestler at the time, it was a commentator, is hilarious. And it's crazy that that toy became the beginning of a massive wrestling figure collection, which I still have at my mom's house. I have so many wrestling figures, and yeah, that was the beginning of my wrestling years, and they're still here. Everyone, I remember my mom saying it was just a phase. It's just going to be a phase. I'm 35 and I'm still a wrestling fan. So, yeah, that was those are my three. Dream birthday party. As I said before, I really think just watching movies with friends. I loved going to the Marvel movies because everybody who, almost everybody I know is a Marvel fan. So I could usually grab a couple people to go to the movies and go see a Marvel flick when they come out on my birthday. But even just having people come over the house and come hang out and watch movies. I love doing that. I love, I had this thing growing up where I was able to burn CDs, and I would make mixed CDs like mad. Like, I've got at least 50 that I made, and I gave them all series titles, and like I was nuts when I got a burner. And every time I was done a CD, I would have a couple of my friends over and I'd play them the CD because I kind of wanted that reaction. I don't know if it's you know, I don't know if it's a little bit of the anxiety of I want you to like me because I have this cool thing. I don't know, but I always loved that. And I loved finding a movie or something and then showing it to somebody. And I loved having that with movies where I would see this movie on my own and then say, okay, everybody come over. I want to watch this with you and I want to see if you have the same reactions I do. So yeah, having friends over and watching a movie is probably the dream birthday party. And yeah, funny enough, the next question was the best birthday. And I have to say that Michael party was probably the best. Having all my friends over, having this really weird, fun concept and just hanging out in the backyard with all of them and just shooting the shit and just having fun it was one of those moments. And please, if you're going to take any advice, please do this because it has served me well so many times. When you're in moments like that, stop what you're doing and just take it in for 5 to 10 seconds. Because there was a moment where the party had sort of split. Like, some people were outside, some people were in the living room hanging out, some were in the kitchen. And I remember standing off from the kitchen and sort of, I can see the living room, I can see the kitchen, and I can see outside, but I can't see them. And I just sort of took that second and took a breath and go, enjoy these moments because, before you know it, it's gone and you're off to the next thing. And that was a moment that I really enjoyed where I was kind of like, man, I remember growing up being an only child and wasn't able to have friends over. And it was kind of like, I don't want this all the time. I don't want everybody over here all the time because I like, having my space and just having me and Kels. But this was pretty damn cool. This was pretty cool. And like I said, we'll probably do another party like that. Probably next year. We usually do a summer bash. But yeah, I think next year we'll probably do one. And it'll be fun. Hopefully you all can make it. But that is it, folks. It is 7:59. We're almost at the 1 hour mark. Thank you all very much for joining me. It has been great celebrating my pre 35th birthday with all of you here on the YouTubes. Hope you all have a great week. Hope you guys have a stress free week. I wish that towards all of you. And next time we talk will be 1 week from tonight, where I will be an old 35-year-old. Yeah, I'm kidding. I'll be 35, and we're going to be talking about the current state of wrestling. It is a weird wrestling world we live in today because everybody's all over the place. Everybody's just, you know, you're WWE or you like AEW or New Japan or Ring of Honor, whatever. I'm going to give my thoughts on what I think of it being a lifelong wrestling fan, and we'll talk about it and a lot more next week. Groot, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the 35th happy birthday. Hopefully I'll get to see you in the next few months at a con or two. But yeah, have a great week, folks. I will see you next week, and stay safe. See you guys.